That's good. Yeah, let's go. Come on, Ken. How are you, sir? Good afternoon, everyone. There's a lot of food code going on. I can tell it now. It's already started. Lunch was that good, wasn't it? Can we try it one more time? Good afternoon. Hey, there it is. My name is Michael Crean, and I'm the CEO and founder of Solutions Granted. Some of you know us, some of you don't. We're a master managed security services provider providing security services with our 24/7 security operations center based out of the United States. But today we're really not here to talk about me and my company. We're here to talk about this little thing called leadership. I want to talk about why leadership does not require suffering and it should be looked at as a privilege. So through the 21 years of experience that I've had as the owner and founder of this business, a United States Army combat veteran of 9 years, and a father of 5, I have seen leadership in the moments of crisis where life and death really matter, and I've seen leadership through the moments of crisis when you're trying to raise a teenage daughter. I would rather try to go back to combat because teenage daughters are tough, they're hard, it's no joke, and when you've got 3 of them that are teenagers at the same time, there's no winning. It is a lot of losing, and I don't feel like there was enough learning for me to get out of the losing and hopefully win a little bit more often, but they're not teenagers anymore, and they've circled back to real life human beings that I can appreciate, and they appreciate me a little bit better. Do I have any other veterans out there in the audience today? Would you do me a favor and stand up for a second? So something that's different that most people don't know about what happens as a veteran, that moment when you say, I solemnly swear and affirm to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, you're writing a blank check to this country, to the Constitution, and the way of life that we choose to support. And that blank check goes all the way and up until the moment of death. You are affording us that opportunity by willing to sacrifice your life to run around the world, kick in doors, chase bad guys, and do all of the things that it takes to keep this country safe and free. Some things that I've learned through this leadership journey of mine that I've been experiencing since I was 19 years old when I joined the military. My first experience after getting my ass kicked in boot camp a lot and often, I go to jump school, and I'm deathly afraid of heights, by the way. And I'm going to jump out of planes, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be awesome, and the 2 weeks of training are fantastic. We get to week 3, and week 3 is you're jumping out of planes. It's like, all right, the first time was perfect. I knew what I was doing because I was trained to do it, and I was trained to do it well. And I didn't make a mistake because all I knew was what I had been taught. And the leaders that were put over top of me, they gave me the ways to get it done and get it done right. The second time was a hot effing mess because I got in my own way. I decided that I knew better. I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to keep my head up because I want to see what's happening. That last one didn't feel so good, so maybe I'm not going to exit the aircraft quite as strong. So what happens? I jump out of the aircraft. I don't put my head down. I don't exit at a good position, and I bounce down the side of the aircraft. My chute opens, it's great, okay, it's good, but as it's opening, I had my head up, and all of a sudden the risers come up because they attach right here, and the parachute's behind you, and the riser comes up, and it takes my helmet and it throws it off. The first thought that runs through my head is, oh shit, I'm going to die because my head's going to hit a rock when I hit the ground, and this is going to be bad, because this is not like the sport parachutes that you see that people come in and they glide and they run along the ground. It's fantastic and amazing. No, you're hitting the ground like a 180-pound bag of shit, and it hurts because it's meant to get you down fast. Well, in the meantime, as the thoughts are running through my head, the next thing I realize is that the instructor, the black hat on the ground, is screaming and yelling at me because I apparently tried to kill him because my helmet came screaming down. And the amount of colorful words that he was able to string together in a fashion through his bullhorn as he's yelling at me as I'm coming down was amazing. And I aspired to be like him, but I really hoped he didn't kill me when I hit the ground and survived. Well, obviously I survived, and he didn't kill me. But what that taught me was, as leaders and as followers, we have to give the trust that we want given to us. And sometimes it's much harder to be a follower than it is a leader. And people scratch their heads and they think that's a little bit of a crazy statement, but it's not. As a follower, you are trusting in the success of your actions for that day into somebody else's ideas, thoughts, wishes, wants, and desires. So we have to be intelligent leaders, and we have to treat leadership as it's a privilege and not something that we just deserve. And I want to define leadership by one of the people that I think is the greatest leaders in my lifetime that I could ever emulate to. And I believe that to be Ronald Reagan. He has this fantastic quote: leaders are not the ones that necessarily who do the greatest things, but the ones who get others to do the greatest things. So think about this in your everyday challenge of life. As most of you are probably MSPs out there and you're servicing your clients and you're trying to convince them that they have to do all of these things that you know is in their best interest, right? That's your job. You're trying to convince them. You're trying to get them to do the greater things to protect themselves. And how many of them are telling you, no, I'm not doing MFA? Now, everybody can shake their head and say, nope, that's not me, that's not me. But Microsoft came out earlier this year and said that only 32 or 33% of users in their ecosystem are using MFA. So somebody's lying somewhere along the way, and I don't think it's them. It's tough. And when you think you're going to slide that indemnification document across the table and says, okay, you're not taking my advice, you're not taking my guidance, you're not letting me lead you, this is going to cover your ass. It's not. It may stop you from the end of day losing a ton of money, but you're going to still spend a ton of money going to court and fighting it, because if they choose to fight you, they're going to fight you. Realize that every opportunity that you have to speak to somebody is an opportunity to lead them and make them aware of things that they're not aware of today. And if you need to remember this, focus back on Ronald Reagan. Because I think, at least from my point of view, if he was alive today, I'd probably be voting for him again. Easy thoughts, easy victories. We all too often focus on what's not being done. It's never about what you didn't figure out. It's always about what you are figuring out. I think we've all heard that saying about winning and losing. I'd like you to reframe that thought. I'd like you to think about it as winning and learning. It is not winning and losing. As a leader, if you've given your team tasks and they're accomplishing the majority of them, do not get hyper-focused on what they're not accomplishing. Praise the successes of the victories that they've brought to the table and how they've been able to accomplish them for your greater success, your client's greater success, and for their own. Just remember, get rid of the word losing. It's always about winning and learning. So we said earlier, I've got 5 kids, 4 daughters. Yep, feel sorry for me. It's tough. It's not easy. I've got 1 son. He's a bit of a different character. He looks a lot like me, he talks a lot like me, and he's only 12, and I wish he'd stop talking a lot like me because he gets himself in trouble and he shouldn't. Here's the beauty of what I have taught all of my children and what I teach all of my employees. Fail, fall, and get up. Fail, fall, and get up. Do it over and over and over again, and I promise you, you will continue to learn, and the moment you fail is when you refuse to get up. That's when you fail. And as leaders, if we focus on that, and we don't focus on the why didn't you figure this out and be happier about what they did figure out, you will see levels of success that will be completely different than what you expect. Here comes a really strange saying. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. By a show of hands, how many woke up today and felt that was true? All right, I got like 5%. I knew you would say it, Michelle. I knew you would tell me. How many of you believe that your actions speak louder than your words? Wow, all those hands. All right, when you wake up today, if you don't believe today is the first day of the rest of your life, your actions are telling everybody else something about you. You have to express to everybody through the words, sometimes, through the actions, always. It is important for us to believe in ourselves, in the failures or the learning that we had yesterday to be better today. So what you did wrong yesterday, when you wake up and you set that intention that today is going to be the first day of the rest of your life, you're setting the intention to not do that thing yesterday in a way that you learned you shouldn't do it, and you do it better today. Because remember, we're not winning and losing, we're winning and learning. So set your intention today and every day that this will be the first day of the rest of your life, and change how the world sees you and be the change that you want to be. Be the eagle. Yeah, be the eagle. This mascot, this emblem, this sign of freedom that we have adopted as our country. Why do I want you to be the eagle? How many of you know the natural predator in the world for the eagle? Man. That is the one natural predator in the world for the eagle. That eagle has no other in the wild natural predators. It is also the only bird that when the storm comes, it does not go home. An eagle goes higher and higher and higher to get above the storm. And from there, it finds the safe space to operate. It finds the place to know and observe and witness the shit show that's going on beneath him. And just like us, when we wake up and we know that we're going to have that one rough customer, we're going to have that one employee who we've talked to 27 times about not starting an email off, like I said before. Yeah, I've got one of those that works for me and it drives me crazy. We know that we're going to have that conversation. Be more like the eagle. Take yourself above the storm. Maybe, just maybe, that client that is coming to you and expressing their displeasure, expressing their angst, expressing their frustration is because they just found out that their wife has cancer. None of us never know what is happening in the minds of our employees, of our clients, and of the people that we associate ourselves with. As leaders, we have to be more than just thought-provoking. Sometimes we need to be a little bit of a psychologist. Sometimes we have to care about them more than we care about ourselves. And we have to realize this privilege, this honor, this passion, this amazing opportunity that we have to take care of them in times that they can't take care of themselves. It is our job, but more importantly, it's our responsibility because we said yes. Has anybody ever been put into a leadership role that they said, I'm not going to do this, I refuse? Nope, because free will allows us to say yes or no. Take the opportunities that are being given to you at these moments in time when people need you the most and choose that responsibility to help them because honestly, they need you and they trust in you. And being a follower is a lot harder than being a leader. So I've got some different leadership principles that I want to go over. I've got two a little bit more modern thinking ones, and one of them actually dovetails into Kyle's conversation earlier this morning. Embracing the respectful dissent, sometimes referred to radical candor. Abraham Lincoln says it's the best. I don't like that man, but I must get to know him better. We all have those moments. We all have those people that we don't like as much as we like others, and then we tend to shy away from them. We tend to predetermine because of whatever reason we don't like them. Well, now it's just going to be a battle. Now we're not going to be the leader that we should be or the leader that we can be. But if we take a moment to get to know them better, maybe they've got 3 teenage daughters at home and they're getting their ass handed to them. And it's just tough. If we know that about them, and if I know that I had that moment in my life, we can commiserate. And we can totally talk about it, and we can come to a better understanding. And maybe there's one thing that I can say that can make it a little bit better. Maybe there isn't. Forgive and forget. That doesn't work. That never works. It's not easy to forgive, and it's impossible to forget. But if we look at how we can do this a little bit better and we place the emphasis on what Mahatma Gandhi has come to us and said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. So be strong. Persevere. Choose the path of excellence that you know you want to preserve, you want to take, you want to be a part of, and allow that to influence your next decision and your next decision. And tomorrow morning when you wake up and you know that maybe you could have had a better conversation, realize that you have the opportunity for it to be the first day of the rest of your life. Now I'm going to flip the script a little bit. These are some old school leadership principles. And when I say old school, I mean old. much older than me. These principles were adopted by the Army in 1953. They started developing these around 1947. I joined the military in 1989. I had joined the military in 1989 and exited in 1997. These leadership principles ran through the Army and were untouched for 50 years. And it wasn't because the Army doesn't have the money to spend to bring in a consultant and talk about all these things. They've weathered the test of time because they're that solid and they're that good. I'm going to focus on one of them today. And maybe we'll hit on one or two more, but one that's really important to me and should be really important to you, and it's number 3. Seeking responsibility and taking responsibility for your actions. And here's why this one is so important to me and should be to you. Have any of you ever dealt with a compromise, an incident, or an event? And please realize I did not use the B word, and it's not the nasty B word your mom didn't want you to say. It's that B word called breach. You should never say that word, by the way. Has anybody ever been involved in a compromise before with a client or themselves? All right. How many of you realized and felt like somebody was willing to raise their hand and said, yep, that one's on me. It was my responsibility. Have you ever seen a manufacturer come in and do that? You ever seen a client come in and say, you're right, I didn't listen to your guidance and I shouldn't have done this? Nope. Have you, as the CEO, founder, director, whatever you are at your MSP, have you ever gone to the client and said, my fault, I screwed up, I caused this one? I got one guy shaking his head yes. It doesn't happen because we're so afraid of the responsibility that we're about to accept. We don't want to be looked at as inadequate. We don't want to be looked at as, oh man, I'm about to get sued. We don't want to take on the responsibility, and that is a problem within this industry in general. From the client to the MSP, to the MSSP, to the SOC as a service, to the manufacturers, we have to start playing a team sport. It requires all of us to win or all of us to lose. As a member of operation units that deployed all around this world and ran around chasing bad guys, if my team didn't come home with me, I lost. It wasn't about what I did wrong or what Mike did wrong or what Tom did wrong or what William did wrong. We were all suffering together. We all experienced that responsibility of loss together, and we didn't blame one another. The same thing when it comes to your organizations. Take the responsibility, bare your soul. I know that there is risk involved in this, but I promise you, if we start acting like a team and we start participating in these things together, we will see triumph. And until that moment in time comes, the threat actors are going to continue to win because they have us scared. They have us acting in ways that we are being unprofessional and we're not being responsible to our clients and to ourselves. Nobody wants bad news, but bad news doesn't get better with time. We have to take care of the mission at hand, and the mission at hand is to win this fight. Now, I truly believe that there are 2 types of leaders out there, and there are motives for both. And I'm going to use some sports analogies to make this easier. There are reward-based leaders, and there are responsibility-based leaders. A reward-based leader, think about the star athlete at whatever high school, wherever, however, and they are working hard. They want to get to that college level. They want to play D1, and they want to get a scholarship. So they're doing everything that it takes. And when they get to college, they're working harder. But the reward-based leader makes it to the NFL. I'm here. It's done. I've reached the pinnacle of success. I'll show up to practice when I get there. I'm going to party, I'm going to drink, I'm going to do drugs. I'm not going to be a productive member of society in a way that I want my children to emulate. And that's what happens when you're focused on the reward. You don't want to be a reward-based leader. But that responsibility-based leader, let's talk about Michael Jordan for a minute. How many of you know that Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team? He did. We're talking about the potential greatest of all time player that's ever graced the NBA. Got cut. Didn't stop him. Came back stronger, came back faster. He also grew a ton. Probably didn't hurt him very much. Then he goes to college and he lights the world on fire. And when he showed up in the NBA, what did he do? He didn't double down. He didn't triple down. He quadrupled down. He was always the first one in and the last one out. He worked harder. He ran more. He shot more often because he knew what it was going to take to lead a team of individuals, to be a part of that success, and to be responsible for his actions and inspire others to do those same things. Be a responsibility-based leader. Now, there are going to be times nobody can just be responsibility-based. There are going to be times where we're going to find ourselves where we find that award or that reward and whatever it is, and we find ourselves shift into it. It's okay. Just don't stay there. Don't live there. Don't linger too long. Come back to the basis of where you need to be and why you need to be there. Let's talk about responsibility-based leaders, and let's talk about Netflix and Blockbuster. How many of you have had a Blockbuster card in your life? I love my little blue card. Come on. It was amazing. What I didn't like was the Be Kind to Rewind, because I was getting a fine because I didn't rewind the stupid tape. So it was amazing when DVDs came out, because that was amazing. I was no longer having to worry about rewinding that VHS. But why am I talking about Blockbuster and Netflix? Well, for those of you that don't know, Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix. This online streaming thing is never going to work. This is just a fad. People want to go to the store. They want that tactile feel. They want that local representative. Well, there's one Blockbuster left on the planet, and I think we all know where Netflix is today. They were looking at themselves in a way that they shouldn't have, and it obviously caused the demise of that business. And it's very unfortunate because they could have been something way better today, because we all know where Netflix is at. The matrix of importance and urgency. This is a decision-making chart, is what it is at the end of the day. This has been around for a really long time. Dr. Stephen Covey has talked about this a lot, but Dwight D. Eisenhower used this a ton. So it's been around for a hot minute. Where we find ourselves as leaders, we need to make sure that we use our time wisely, and we're also educating those behind us. And where I want you to remember is, if it is important and urgent, get it done now, because it has some sort of deadline, and it normally means there's a crisis behind it. But you should not spend much time in this quadrant. This should be the thing that you move in and out of quickly. Where you should spend the majority of your time is in quadrant 2. These are the important things that are not urgent, that require your planning. This is the long-term development of your employees, of your company, of your policies, of your procedures, in the way you're going to market to service your clients. Quadrant 3, these are all of the things you should be delegating. Get rid of them. Maybe these are the things that you love to do. That's not what your time is meant to be. Delegate them and give people the opportunity to grow and to succeed. Quadrant 4, fire them. And by them, I do mean the clients. Fire them. This is not urgent, this is not important, and requires you to strike it from the regimental roster with extreme prejudice. Get it gone, and get it gone now, because it is a waste of your time. So if the client is nickel and diming you, if the client won't take the offerings that you have, if the clients don't want to believe that you're the subject matter expert, that you have all of this knowledge that they hired you for, let quadrant 4 be file 13. That's the trash can, by the way, for those of you that don't know. This is an amazing, easy way for you to be able to structure your day with your time and your employees and your business. We're getting to the end. I want everybody to think about being the change that you want to be, because the time for change is now. Because you woke up today and it was the first day of the rest of your life. So you have an opportunity every day to change. And our hope and our wishes, wants, and desires is that you are changing. Because the moment you stop changing, the moment you stop learning, life is kind of done. What is the point? If you can't be something different that you failed at tomorrow through learning to be better today, then you really have no desire to be the change that you want. And so if you don't want to be the change that you want to be, and you're not being like the eagle, well, then you're acting like a duck. You know how ducks act? They waddle around, they're really close to the ground, and they're squawking and quacking and bitching and moaning and griping and being ducks. And we all have a bunch of ducks in our lives, right? We know what ducks look like. We know what employees that act like ducks look like. But you can make a duck an eagle. You can give them every opportunity to emulate you, to change, to be something different than they are today, or maybe they should be eliminated in quadrant number 4. And that's a tough thing to do because you can't care more about them than they care about themselves. You also can't have more care for your clients than they care about themselves because it is their data, it is their business. And my advice to you is to do it with them and not for them. I can't tell you how many MSPs bring us a cybersecurity insurance form and say, hey, I need you to help me fill this out. And it's blank. And it's like, well, have you sat down with your client and have you talked about it yet? Well, no, not yet because they gave it to me. Cool. Is that your business or their business? Make them understand what their business is. Make them understand what their responsibility is because now you're giving them the opportunity to be a greater leader. You're giving them an opportunity to participate in their life and their success, and you're doing it with them and not for them. Because I'm going to tell you, the Staples Easy Bus doesn't exist. There is no such thing. I mean, I like the little one that I've got. My son hits it all the time and drives me batshit crazy. But that's not the point. It's not easy. Leadership is not easy. It's not meant to be easy, but it definitely does not require suffering. I hope that just one of you wakes up tomorrow and thinks, whether you believe it or not, that today is the first day of the rest of your life. I appreciate your time. My name is Michael Crean, and this has been a fun journey for me.